All right, let's take you now back to the story. EFF members in the Northern Cape have filled up the Mayibuye Centre in Galeshewe Township as the EFF gears up for the 2024 elections. We cross now to our reporter who is joining us live from Kimberley, Margaret Mothibi. Margaret, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. So, of course, we know that the hall is packed. Has Julius Malema finally arrived, and what was his message?
Good afternoon, Unanti. We are concluding our work here at Mayibuye in Galeshewe. You are all too familiar, actually, with Galeshewe Township. So after a very slow start, close to 2 hours of literally waiting for the EFF president, finally he came and he addressed the members of the EFF who were quite excited and quite elated to actually have him here in Galeshewe. And basically what he was saying is that these are the people that are going to be the face of the party, campaigning across the Northern Cape to over 600,000 already registered voters in the province to try and convince them to vote for the EFF. So he was saying some of the things that were pretty basic, that would come as basic logic, but telling them that as EFF members, they literally represent the brand of the EFF, speaking to them in terms of how they should look, how they should present themselves, and what is it that is an expectation in terms of the communities and people that will be wanting to vote for the EFF. It was quite a lengthy address that he gave to the people or the members of the EFF here in Galeshewe. But people were patient, people were excited. But more than anything, what is coming out, what we heard in the morning from the chairperson, of the EFF, and also the EFF leader, Julius Malema, it's very clear that they want to occupy the union buildings post-2024 in next year's elections. So they're not looking at trying to unseat the ANC in provinces, but more than anything, they want to unseat the ANC as a governing party in South Africa. Unati?
And Margaret, I would imagine, just talking about what the EFF wants to do in terms of unseating. The ANC, as we know, of course, governs at over 55% in the Northern Cape. Did he mention, though, in terms of, just how they are projecting their delivery come the 2024 elections, particularly in the Northern Cape, because we know that a lot of their members reside in Kimberley specifically?
I'm battling to hear you, Unati, but the bit that I could get from you was more than anything, what is it that Julius Malema is saying in terms of their game plan? So when you spoke to Shadrach, it seems as though they are gunning at their councillors being visible in communities, their councillors being people that give solutions to people in communities. So he gave an example about one of the councillors who's actually in the Kuruman area, where he was actually telling them, telling these members of the EFF who were in attendance today that it's quite simple things that are going to help them win these elections. So according to what Julius Malema was saying is that this particular councillor in his village, he literally fetches water for the elderly, and he also uses his own transport to transport some of the elderly that are incapacitated in the village to go and collect their grants. So he was saying that it's not the big things that are going to help them win the elections, but it's the small things that are done in communities where they are visible and where there are sort of like solution givers to the communities where there are problems. So more than anything, the expectation from the leadership is that don't become part of the problem, but be a solution. So he's basing a lot of what they're saying in terms of the Ipsos research, saying that according to the research that they are sort of like following as the EFF, the ANC will come under 50% in 2024. So he's saying that the fighters should take that and run with it and make sure that in spaces that they occupy, they should convince the electorate that they should vote for the EFF. Unati?
Margaret, before I let you go, I'm quite interested, because I'm looking, of course, that is a very packed Mayibuye Centre, looking at just how many young people came out to register to vote for the first time, in the IEC's voter registration weekend. How many young people, or can you see a large visibility of young people, first-time voters, amongst those that are in, in that hall?
So basically, the people that were invited today are essentially, like I said in my intro, people that will be rallying other members of the EFF, giving them the message that comes from the leadership. So it's not all the members, it's not ordinary people from the community. So these are people that occupy leadership positions in different branches of the EFF in the province. So before he did his address, there was sort of like a report that was done in terms of wanting to know the presence of the EFF across the province so that they do not clutch at numbers and clutch at straws. So in the report that was tabled today, it's very clear that the party is still struggling a bit in Namakwa, where they were expecting even some of the representatives of the party who occupy leadership position there to be in attendance, and for some reason they were not there. And so the provincial leadership was saying that they will follow up, they will give a report to the national leadership in terms of what has happened. So what we know in terms of the report that was tabled is that the people that were in attendance, over 1,000 of them that were here, are not your ordinary off the street kind of people. These are people that are supposed to go back to the branches, mobilize people and tell them exactly what is the line of march from the national leadership of the EFF and the expectation in terms of the numbers that they're looking at and the fact that they want to unseat the ANC in the province. So they spoke about the fact that they are looking at the numbers of the IEC, which I've already highlighted that in the Northern Cape alone you have over 600,000 people that have registered to participate in next year's elections. And in that 600,000, they were saying that the bulk of them are in the Francis Bar district, which will be your Kimberly area, your Pokwani area, so your Richie area. So those are the numbers that they're looking at in terms of attracting that kind of voter to vote for the EFF, because they say that if you get a voter in the Francis Bar region that has over 100,000 potential voters, essentially you are going to be 1 foot in, and most of your battles are mostly done. So what is very clear is that they are looking at actually putting the ANC in the Northern Cape under 50%, pardon me, and nationally also under 50%. Unati?
Margaret, thank you so much for that very comprehensive update. Of course, Margaret Mothibi coming to us live there from the Mayibuye Centre in Galeshewe in Kimberley.